Hello everyone and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. The rain pounded relentlessly against the cracked windshield of Luna's car as she drove in silence, her fingers gripping the steering wheel with white-knuckled tension, knuckles trembling with a chill that wasn't from the weather but from something colder, darker, guilt, perhaps, or the unrelenting weight of what she was about to do, and Hayes, sitting stiffly in the passenger seat, kept glancing sideways at her, sensing that something was off. That the woman he'd come to trust, or maybe fear, or both, was holding something back, something big, something poisonous, and when she turned abruptly off the main road and onto a gravel path that twisted into a forgotten part of the city where factories had once roared with steel and sweat and now only rusted skeletons of industry remained, Hayes knew this was not a casual detour, and Luna's silence was not peace, it was prelude, and as the warehouse loomed into view, a hulking beast of corrugated metal and shattered glass, its presence like an accusation, Hayes felt his throat tighten with dread, but said nothing, because something in Luna's eyes told him the truth would come whether he wanted it or not, and maybe deep down, he already knew, or at least suspected, because people like Luna didn't just carry secrets, they wore them, wrapped them around their shoulders like a cloak, and when she finally stopped the car, turned off the engine, and looked at him with those haunted eyes that had once shimmered with charm but now were dead. Lakes of sorrow and fury, she whispered, "Come on," and stepped out, not waiting to see if he followed, which of course he did, because Hayes was too far in now, too curious or too stupid or maybe just too desperate to understand why she'd chosen him to bring here, to this place that stank of mildew and memory, the broken doors groaning open on rusty hinges as Luna led him inside, each step echoing like a drumbeat of the past. And then she stopped in the center of the room, where a single shaft of light fell from a hole in the roof, illuminating a faded bloodstain on the concrete floor like a spotlight on a forgotten sin, and Luna just stood there, shoulders shaking slightly, her hands clenching into fists at her sides, and said, "This is where it happened," her voice barely audible over the wind and the ghost howl of time, and Hayes blinked, trying to understand what it meant, but the words that followed made it horrifyingly clear. "This is where I killed Steffy," and the name hit him like a punch to the gut, because Steffy wasn't just a name, wasn't just a memory, she was his friend, his ally, sometimes even his compass when life tilted sideways, and hearing her name spoken like that, in this place, by Luna, was like hearing a lullaby turned into a dirge, and he stared at the stain, now darker, more real, more sinister, and he said nothing, couldn't say anything, because Luna kept talking, unraveling the story like thread pulled from a wound, how Steffy had found out something she shouldn't have, how she'd threatened to expose Luna, not out of cruelty but out of righteousness, because that's who Steffy was, always chasing the truth, no matter the cost, and how Luna had begged her to stay silent, but Steffy had refused, saying the truth mattered more than friendship, more than loyalty, more than anything else, and that's when Luna had snapped, not out of malice but out of sheer desperation. And the next moments were a blur of shouting, struggling. A tool, a wrench, grabbed in panic, and then the silence, the terrible silence, and Hayes closed his eyes, tried to block out the image of it, but Luna's voice dragged him back, telling him how she'd stayed there, alone with the body, for hours, not crying, not even thinking, just being, like time had stopped in the warehouse and only now, with Hayes here, had it started again, and then she turned to him, her face pale and raw, like confession had peeled off all her masks, and said, "I brought you here because I can't carry this alone anymore," and Hayes felt his knees weaken because this wasn't just a revelation, it was a plea, and a trap, and a death sentence all at once, and part of him wanted to run, to get as far away from Luna and her twisted truth as possible, but another part, the part that had always believed there was more to people than just their worst moment, stepped forward and asked, "Why me?" and Luna laughed. A bitter, broken sound, and said, "Because you loved her too," and that shattered something inside Hayes, because it was true, he had loved Steffy, not in the way people write sonnets about, but in the way you love someone who reminds you of your best self, and now she was gone, murdered in this warehouse by the woman standing in front of him, the woman who'd just made him complicit, and Hayes didn't know what to do, whether to scream or call the police or hold her while she broke apart. But Luna kept going, explaining how she'd cleaned up, how she'd hidden the body, how no one had found out, not yet, and now she wanted to confess, or maybe she just wanted to feel again, because living with the truth had turned her into a ghost with a heartbeat, and maybe dragging Hayes here was her last desperate act of redemption or self-destruction, and when she reached out and touched his hand, he flinched, because the touch burned, not with heat but with memory, with guilt transferred like a contagion, and Hayes realized that nothing would be the same after this moment, not for Luna, not for him, and certainly not for Steffy's memory, which would now always be colored by this place, this stain, this story. And as the wind howled louder, the storm outside finally breaching the warehouse roof in a torrent of rain and grief, Luna whispered, "Do what you have to do," and Hayes stood there, soaked, frozen, torn between justice and mercy, between love and betrayal, between the past and the unbearable now, and somewhere in the distance a siren wailed, or maybe it was just the wind through the broken glass, and the warehouse held its breath, waiting for his answer. Hayes is abducted by Luna. A new horror for Finn and Steffy. Hayes Finnegan may be kidnapped by Luna Nozawa. Is this the beginning of the worst nightmare for John Finn Finnegan and Steffy Forrester? Luna had some difficult setbacks. Luna managed her intense emotions in the June 12th episode by remaining concealed as Finn comforted Hayes. If their relationship hadn't been cut off, it made her think of all the moments she could have spent with Daddy Finn. More issues could surface now that Hayes has been recast and is playing a big role in the narrative. Luna might start thinking about Hayes being her younger brother and decide to take a risk. What happens if Luna approaches Hayes during a playdate or group activity? We know that there will be more scenes with children in the future. Luna might easily snatch Hayes by tricking the responsible adult. Luna may easily fool the adult watching them by pretending to be a protective elder sister. She could say that Finn asked her to pick up Hayes early so that no alarms are set off. Luna may pretend to be Hayes' older sister and convince him that they are embarking on a thrilling journey. Hayes might gladly go along with it, utterly oblivious to any danger. Steffy and Finn, meantime, might be sent into a panic. Finn and Steffy would surely fear the worst if this turns into a situation where Hayes is taken. There might be some intriguing reasons why Luna would do this. If Luna kidnaps Hayes, it will be interesting to see why. She might consider Hayes as her last hope for a family member who doesn't think she's a monster. She may decide to take Hayes with her, fooling herself into thinking she can raise him alone, as everyone is telling her to go out of town. Certainly, there may also be a revenge factor at work. In order to break the parent-child tie, Luna may try to take away Steffy's contact with her son if she is unable to build a relationship with her father. Depriving Finn of a relationship with Hayes would also be necessary, although Luna might believe he deserves it for rejecting her and defying Steffy. Alternatively, Luna might be using Hayes as bait. After all, what better way to lure Steffy into a trap than to kidnap Hayes and force her to comply with orders to save him? With all the gun-related chaos now that Luna has armed herself and fired at Steffy's photo, B&B needs a plan. Luna might kidnap Hayes and demand a trade, Steffy's life in exchange for Hayes' safe return because she is obsessed with causing Steffy pain. Steffy might immediately give in to Luna and end up in grave danger. In any case, Hayes might soon join Luna's cunning scheme. Steffy and Finn may be informed of some horrifying information about Hayes if he disappears due to Luna. Luna Nozawa, once seen as a hopeful new presence in Los Angeles, is now spiraling into darkness, and the repercussions could reshape the lives of Steffy Forrester and John Finn Finnegan forever. What began as quiet heartbreak has evolved into obsessive delusion, pushing Luna toward a plan so unthinkable, so emotionally charged, that it threatens to become Steffy and Finn's most harrowing nightmare to date. Following the emotional events of June 12, Luna found herself hiding in the shadows, watching Finn comfort little Hayes, his innocent son who had no knowledge of the storm brewing around him. That moment pierced Luna's soul. In that private scene of familial warmth, so casual and genuine, she saw everything she'd been denied. Her father, her place in his life, the bond she'd never get to share. That image of Finn tenderly holding his son reawakened a primal ache deep within Luna, the longing for connection, for recognition, for the simple validation of being someone's daughter, someone's family. But instead of confronting her feelings in a healthy way, Luna began internalizing them, twisting her heartbreak into a dangerous resolve. As Hayes is recast and woven more prominently into the show's unfolding drama, it is no coincidence that Luna's fractured psyche begins to fixate on him. Not just as Finn's son, not just as an innocent child, but as her younger brother. A sibling. A symbol of what she could have had. What she believes she still deserves. Her warped sense of justice and rejection may soon fuel a desperate and dangerous decision, to abduct Hayes and vanish, forcing the entire Forrester-Finnegan family into a crisis they never saw coming. What makes Luna's descent even more terrifying is how easily she might pull it off. Her clever mind, paired with her emotional manipulation skills, could allow her to fabricate a believable lie. During an innocent playdate or group gathering, she could casually approach Hayes, all smiles and soft words, telling the adult in charge that Finn had sent her. Her sweet demeanor might not raise any suspicion. After all, Luna looks the part of a concerned older sister, gentle, calm, nurturing. Hayes, ever the curious and trusting little boy, wouldn't suspect a thing. Luna might promise him a trip to the beach, a surprise adventure, or even a visit to see Daddy. Excited and unaware of any threat, Hayes could happily take her hand and walk right into danger. Meanwhile, Steffy and Finn's day might begin like any other, routine, secure, grounded, until a chilling phone call or sudden realization sends them into a panic. Their son is gone. Vanished without a trace. And the first name that enters their minds? Luna. As authorities scramble, Finn and Steffy are plunged into emotional chaos. Their home, once a place of laughter and bedtime stories, becomes a war room filled with dread, unanswered questions, and the terrifying possibility that they may never see their son again. But Luna's motives aren't merely criminal, they're emotional. She's not acting out of pure malice. In her mind, she may be reclaiming something that was stolen. She may believe that Hayes, still untouched by adult judgment or rejection, is her last shot at family. Unlike the others who've turned their backs on her, like Lee or even Poppy, Hayes is innocent. He doesn't yet know to hate her. In her delusion, she could convince herself that he will love her. That he'll see her as the big sister he never knew he had. That together, they can build a life far away from the toxic world that branded her a threat. She may dream of small towns, new names, fresh starts. But even more dangerously, she might be motivated by revenge. If she can't have her father, then Steffy shouldn't have her son. Luna may think that if she's suffering, Steffy should suffer too, and what greater pain could Steffy endure than losing her child? Luna's logic, though broken, follows a pattern of resentment that's been simmering ever since Steffy pushed her out of Finn's life. Steffy was the gatekeeper, the one who cast judgment, the one who ensured Luna was seen as a danger. Taking Hayes may feel, to Luna, like poetic justice. Alternatively, Luna's plot may not be so much about family or revenge, but strategy. What if she's not looking for love, but leverage? By kidnapping Hayes, Luna would suddenly hold all the power. She could draw Steffy into a trap, luring her into a confrontation with deadly stakes. The storyline has already teased Luna's descent into violence, particularly with the ominous scene where she shot at Steffy's photo. That moment was no accident. It was a declaration. Luna isn't merely heartbroken, she's dangerous. Unstable. And now armed. With Hayes as bait, Luna could demand anything, Steffy's silence, her cooperation, or even her life. Finn would be forced to choose between his wife and his son, thrown into an agonizing position that tears him apart emotionally. Luna might even stage a ransom scenario, forcing Steffy to come alone to a remote location where a trap awaits. But Steffy, fiercely protective and unafraid of threats, might walk right into it, willing to do anything to save her son. The consequences could be fatal. Whether Luna's plan is to escape, to destroy, or to manipulate, the outcome is the same: devastation. Imagine the emotional toll on Steffy and Finn. Their son's disappearance would fracture their world. Steffy, who has survived loss before, would be plunged into a new level of agony. Her motherly instincts would clash with fear, guilt, and anger. She might blame herself for not watching Hayes more closely, for letting her guard down. Finn, caught between his past and present, would spiral as he confronts the horrifying truth that the daughter he never raised might have stolen the son he holds most dear. The press would swarm, the police would search, but only Luna knows where Hayes is. In a twisted way, Luna holds the key to either redemption or ruin. If she ever lets Hayes go, it might be only after proving her point, or achieving her revenge. Or worse, she might vanish entirely, beginning a nationwide manhunt with Steffy and Finn racing against time. The emotional weight of this storyline could ripple into every corner of The Bold and the Beautiful, drawing in Ridge, Brooke, Hope, even Liam, as everyone unites to bring Hayes home and stop Luna before tragedy strikes. There's also the question of Hayes himself. A child caught in a whirlwind of adult drama and dangerous emotions, Hayes could become traumatized by the experience. If Luna takes him far, he may begin to question who he can trust. Luna, despite her instability, may treat him gently, giving him toys, telling him stories, pretending they're just on a vacation. But eventually, he'll miss home. He'll ask for mommy. He'll cry. And Luna, unprepared for the emotional reality of caring for a child, may begin to unravel further. Her fantasy may crack. That's when she becomes truly unpredictable. Does she lash out? Does she call Finn in a breakdown and beg him to come find them? Or does she disappear deeper into hiding, unwilling to let go of the only connection she thinks she has left? The writers of B&B are clearly crafting Luna into a ticking time bomb. Her rejection arc, emotional instability, isolation, and recent violent behavior all suggest a character heading toward a dramatic climax. With Hayes recast and positioned in more storylines, his kidnapping could serve as the catalyst that explodes everything, forcing truths to emerge, relationships to fracture, and emotional reckonings to occur. Finn, in particular, will be tested like never before. How do you reconcile the fact that your own flesh and blood, your daughter, has abducted your son? Can you still see her as a victim? Can you forgive her? Or is Luna truly lost? This nightmare could stretch over weeks of airtime, giving actors like Jacqueline MacInnes Wood, Steffy, and Tanner Novlan, Finn, space to deliver powerhouse performances full of fear, rage, and heartbreak. And Luna, portrayed with increasing intensity, could become one of the most talked about antagonists in recent memory. Audiences would be glued to the screen, desperate to know if Hayes is safe, if Luna will be caught, and whether Finn and Steffy's relationship can survive such trauma. Side characters might weigh in. Lee could admit her failings as a mother to Luna, while Poppy might make a desperate plea to bring her daughter home. The emotional stakes would rise, episode by episode, until the inevitable confrontation, one that could occur in a shadowy cabin, a lonely cliffside, or even during a high-stakes police rescue. Whatever the resolution, it's clear this story is not just about a kidnapping. It's about fractured identity, lost dreams, family gone wrong, and the explosive consequences of emotional neglect. In the end, whether Luna is redeemed or ruined, whether Hayes is rescued swiftly or remains missing for agonizing weeks, this storyline promises to push The Bold and the Beautiful into some of its darkest, most emotionally charged territory yet. A child taken. A family torn. A woman on the edge. Luna Kidnaps Hayes could go down as one of the most memorable arcs in recent soap history, forcing every character involved to confront their past, their values, and their deepest fears. And for Steffy and Finn, the nightmare has only just begun. Who is covering Luna Nozawa's expenses as her secret ally? Luna Nozawa has gone overboard once more, and her next attack is just around the corner. In anticipation of the hammer falling and chaos erupting, Steffy Forrester and her family are waiting. Could things get worse if Luna Nozawa has a wealthy and covert supporter that no one is aware of? Read on to find out. Here are some spoilers for what will be on Bold and Beautiful this week. The daughter of Dr. Finn's murderer is going crazy on The Bold and the Beautiful. But she's doing it with style and comfort. Fans of B&B are confused about who is funding Luna Nozawa's expenses and maintaining her way of life. She isn't living in the impoverished dwelling, but she did leave Bill Spencer's opulent estate. Who covers Luna's rent? Who furnished Luna's own flat after renting it? More significantly, how is the Il Giardino killer surviving on the streets of Los Angeles without a job? She definitely does not have time to go seek a job with all of her lurking and regular trips to Steffy Forrester's residence. She isn't permitted at Il Giardino, And Bill Spencer isn't feeding her at the Spencer mansion, either. We are still unable to identify the person purchasing the food for the ex-inmate. Poppy and Lee Finnegan are both attempting to distance themselves from her, and the Nozawa family will not pay for her. The writers of the CBS soap opera The Bold and the Beautiful frequently leave a lot of things out in the air. Luna's living circumstances could not be significant. They might not have wanted to waste airtime describing how she was able to pay her rent because B&B is only 30 minutes long. Is someone taking advantage of Luna? However, it could also imply something really important. Does anyone else on the soap opera pay the criminal's expenses and perhaps even assist her in committing crimes? Is there someone behind the scenes pushing her to pursue Steffy?